Hello, my dear English learners. Welcome back to English Practice with Julia. I'm Julia, and I'm truly so happy to have you here with me today. If this is your first time here, then let me warmly welcome you. Please feel relaxed and comfortable. You do not need perfect English to join this lesson. You only need a little time, a little patience, and the willingness to practice. And I'll be here to guide you gently, step by step, every single day. We upload a new English learning video every day, so you can keep improving in a calm, easy, and consistent way, without pressure. Today, I want you to think of this lesson as a cozy English practice session, just you and me, learning together in a simple and peaceful way. There is no need to hurry, and there is no need to feel nervous. In this lesson, we are going to gently improve your English listening and your English speaking. So if you can, please take a pen and some paper and keep them near you. It is not a rule, of course, but it can help you remember useful phrases, notice new sentence patterns, and feel more confident as you practice. Now, today's topic is daily English listening and speaking practice, and this is one of the most helpful kinds of English practice you can do, because it teaches you how English really sounds in everyday life and how you can use it naturally in your own conversations. We are going to explore simple daily situations, useful expressions, natural sentence flow, and the kind of speaking patterns that real people use every day. We'll go through easy, real-life examples that sound natural and conversational, the kind of English you can use at home, at work, at school, in a store, on the phone, or while talking to a friend. Together, we'll listen carefully to how the sentences move. We'll notice how ideas connect smoothly, and you'll get many chances to repeat, practice, and speak with more comfort and confidence. You'll also see that daily English does not need to be difficult to be useful. In fact, the most powerful English is often simple, clear, and natural. So by the end of this lesson, I want you to feel more relaxed, more confident, and more ready to understand and speak English in your daily life. Little by little and step by step. Before we begin, may I ask you for one small and kind favor? If you enjoy learning English with me in this calm and friendly way, please subscribe and press the bell icon too. That way, you won't miss our daily lessons. And it also supports me so I can keep creating these gentle lessons for you. Thank you so much, truly. I really appreciate it. Let's practice this together in a very gentle way. Imagine that you are just opening your eyes, and the room is still quiet. Julia says softly, "I'm awake now." And you repeat it in your mind, or out loud, "I'm awake now." Then Julia says, "I still feel sleepy." And you repeat, "I still feel sleepy." Then Julia says, "I want to stay in bed a little longer." And you repeat that too. "May I want to stay in bed a little longer." Notice how natural these sentences feel. You do not need advanced grammar here. You only need rhythm, meaning, and repetition. That is how daily speaking becomes natural. not by forcing your mouth to perform, but by training your ear and your voice to walk together, slowly, step by step. Now let's move a little further into the morning. Maybe you sit up. Maybe you stretch your arms. Maybe you look at the window and notice the light outside. This is another chance to speak simple English connected to real life. You can say, "It looks sunny today," or "The sky is cloudy," or "It might rain later." If you are cold, you can say, "It feels cold this morning." If you are feeling fresh and positive, you can say, "I feel good today," or "I think today will be a good day." These are the kinds of sentences that make your English feel alive because they are connected to your body, your mood, your room, your weather, your real morning, not somebody else's morning, your morning. And that is why this kind of practice is so powerful. Sometimes learners think listening practice means only sitting quietly and hearing a long lesson. But listening practice can also happen when you listen carefully to short, natural sentences and absorb their feeling, their rhythm, and their pattern. For example, listen to the difference between these two ideas. I am cold, and it is cold this morning. Both are useful, but they express different things. The first one talks about your body. The second one talks about the weather or the environment. When you hear natural English again and again, you begin to feel these differences without stress. That is why I want you to listen not only for words, but for small meanings. Listen for the feeling behind the sentence. Listen for the situation inside the sentence. Listen for the daily life hidden inside the words. That kind of listening builds real understanding. Now imagine you walk to the kitchen. You are a little sleepy, but your day is starting. Maybe you are making tea. Maybe you are making coffee. Maybe you are pouring a glass of water. This part of the day gives us so many useful speaking sentences. You can say, "I need some water. I'm making coffee. I'm heating up some milk. I'm preparing breakfast. I don't want anything heavy this morning. I just want something light." Can you hear how simple and natural these sentences are? They are not fancy, but they are the kind of English people really use. And when you learn to say ordinary things clearly, your confidence starts growing in a very honest way, because daily life English gives you something you can use immediately. Today, not someday. Let's do a longer listening and speaking flow together. You just imagine the scene and let the English move naturally with it. I walked into the kitchen. I felt a little tired, but I wanted to start my day well. I poured a glass of water and drank it slowly. Then I made myself a cup of coffee. The smell was warm and comforting. I looked out the window for a moment and thought about my plans for the day. I didn't want to rush. I just wanted a calm beginning. Now listen again in a softer way and notice the flow from one sentence to the next. Then try saying it in your own voice. Maybe not perfectly, but naturally. Maybe a little slowly, but sincerely. This kind of paragraph practice helps you connect separate sentences into one smooth thought. And that is exactly what good speaking needs. Now let's bring in a very useful habit, talking about what you are doing right now. This is one of the easiest and most effective ways to practice daily English speaking because your actions are already there in front of you. You do not need to invent anything. You can simply describe what is happening. I'm washing my face. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm looking for my keys. I'm getting dressed. I'm packing my bag. I'm checking my phone. I'm in a hurry. Or I have a little extra time today. These sentences train one very important part of English: the ability to speak about the present moment. And when you can describe your present moment clearly, everyday conversation becomes much easier because so many real conversations begin there with what you are doing, how you are feeling, and what is happening around you. Here is a gentle exercise for you, and I want it to feel like a real life speaking moment, not like a test. Imagine that you are getting ready to leave home. Say these ideas after me in a natural way. I'm getting ready for the day. I need to leave soon. I don't want to be late. I think I forgot something. Wait. Where are my keys? Oh, here they are. Now I'm ready. That little sequence is full of real daily English. And the more you repeat natural little sequences like this, the more your mind begins to connect English to life automatically. This is one of the quiet secrets of fluency. You do not always need bigger vocabulary first. Sometimes you need stronger connection first. Connection between your day and your English. Now, let's imagine another common situation: going outside and starting your day in the world. Maybe you are walking to work. Maybe you are going to school. Maybe you are heading to a store. Maybe you are just stepping out for a short walk. In these moments, English becomes very practical. You might say, "It's busier than usual today. There are a lot of people outside. Traffic is terrible this morning. The street is so quiet today. I need to catch the bus. I hope I'm not late. I forgot my umbrella. I should have brought a jacket." These are the sentences that help you respond to real life quickly. And quick response is not built only through grammar study. It is built through familiarity, through hearing these daily patterns again and again until they feel like trusted friends. Listening is also about noticing how native-like speech often connects ideas in a relaxed way. For example, instead of saying disconnected sentences like this: "I went outside. It was cold. I came back in," a natural speaker may say, "I went outside, but it was so cold that I came back in right away." That longer sentence feels smooth because the ideas are connected. When you practice English paragraphs, you begin to feel how one idea leads naturally to another. And that is why I want this lesson to be full of connected speech, not isolated vocabulary only. Because in real life, people do not usually speak in separate word boxes. They connect thoughts, emotions, reactions, and small details. And your English becomes more natural when you practice that same movement. Let's do another paragraph together. This one is about arriving somewhere. Maybe you arrive at work. Maybe you arrive at class. Maybe you arrive at a friend's place. Listen carefully to the natural flow. I got there a little earlier than usual, and I was glad because I had time to settle down. I put my things in the right place, took a deep breath, and looked around for a moment. Everyone seemed busy, but the atmosphere felt normal and comfortable. I told myself, okay, the day has started, and now I'm ready. This paragraph is simple, but it teaches you something very important: how to speak about sequence. First this happened, then that happened. Then I felt something. Then I reacted. This flow makes speaking more natural and easier to follow. Now I want to help you with a very common problem. Many English learners understand more than they can say, and this is completely normal. Maybe you hear a sentence and understand it, but when it is your turn to speak, the words feel slow, or hidden, or far away. If that happens to you, please do not feel discouraged. This does not mean you are bad at English. It usually means your listening and speaking are developing at different speeds, and that is okay. The solution is not to become anxious. The solution is to practice more tiny speaking moments with patience. When you repeat useful daily paragraphs, when you describe your routine, when you talk softly to yourself in English, you are building a bridge between understanding and speaking, and that bridge gets stronger every day. Let's try a soft self-talk exercise, because this is one of the kindest ways to build fluency. Imagine you are alone for a few minutes, and you decide to speak English to yourself in a gentle, natural way. You do not perform. You do not act like a teacher. You simply talk to yourself like a calm friend. You might say, I have a lot to do today, but I'll try to stay focused. I want to finish one thing at a time. I don't need to rush everything. I'll start with the most important task, and then I'll see how the day goes. That is real English practice. And it is powerful because it teaches you to think in complete ideas, not just memorize random lines. Now let's bring in a small daily conversation. Imagine that someone asks you, how's your day going so far? This is such a common question, and your answer does not need to be complicated. You can say, it's going pretty well so far. I've been a little busy, but everything is okay. Or you can say, it's been a slow morning, but I'm starting to feel more awake now. Or maybe, it's been a bit stressful, but I'm doing my best. These answers sound natural because they are honest. They are simple, but not too simple. And they give the other person something to continue talking about. That is an important part of speaking practice too. learning how to give answers that keep the conversation open. Sometimes the best practice comes from repeating one idea in a few different natural ways. So let's do that now. Imagine you are tired. You can say, "I'm tired today." You can also say, "I didn't sleep very well last night," or "I'm a little low on energy today," or "I feel like I need a break." Notice how all these sentences are connected to one feeling, but they sound slightly different. This is a wonderful way to build speaking flexibility, because real fluency is not only knowing one correct sentence, it is having a few natural ways to express the same truth and choosing the one that feels right in the moment. Let's practice a realistic working or studying moment together. Imagine that you sit down, maybe with a notebook, maybe with a computer, maybe with a cup of tea beside you, and you tell yourself, "Okay, let's get started. I have a lot to do." But I'll take it one step at a time. First, I need to check my notes. Then, I need to reply to a few messages. After that, I can focus on the main task. I don't want to waste time, but I also don't want to feel stressed. I just want to stay steady and focused. Listen to how that paragraph sounds. It feels calm, organized, and human. This is exactly the kind of English that builds practical fluency. Because you are not memorizing strange textbook sentences. You are practicing the language of your real day. Now let's think about something very common, being interrupted. Maybe you are working and someone speaks to you. Maybe you are busy and your phone rings. Maybe you are concentrating and suddenly you have to answer a question. This kind of moment is important because real conversation often begins unexpectedly, not when you feel ready. And that is why daily speaking practice should include interruption language too. You might say, "Just a second, I'm in the middle of something. I'll be with you in a moment. Sorry. Can you say that again? I didn't catch that. Give me a minute. I'm almost finished here." These phrases are so useful because they help you stay calm in conversation. They give you time, they sound natural, and they protect your confidence when English feels fast. Listening practice becomes very important here because in real life, people do not always speak slowly. Sometimes they ask quick questions like, "Are you free right now? Can you help me with something? Did you already send it? What time are we meeting? If your ear is not ready." These questions can feel sudden, but when you practice short daily exchanges again and again, your listening becomes sharper and your responses come more smoothly. Let's do a little conversation flow. Someone says, "Are you free right now?" You answer, "In a few minutes, yes. I just need to finish this first." Someone asks, "Did you already send that message?" You answer, "Not yet. I'm about to do it now." Someone says, "What time are we meeting later?" You answer, I think we said 3 o'clock, but let me check again. These short exchanges are powerful because they sound like real life. And real life is the best classroom for natural English. Now imagine that you are having a small conversation with someone during the day. Not a deep conversation, just a simple, friendly one. This kind of small talk matters more than many learners realize because it teaches you how to keep English moving in a relaxed way. Maybe someone asks, "How's everything going?" You can answer, "Everything's going fine, just a little busy." Or, "Pretty well. I'm trying to stay organized today." Or, "It's been a long day already, but I'm doing okay." Then the other person may respond, "Yeah, same here." And the conversation continues. Small talk is not about big ideas. It is about connection, rhythm, comfort, and response. And if you can do this well, your English will feel much more natural in daily life. Let's stay with this idea and build a slightly longer conversation. Imagine that you meet a classmate, a coworker, or even a neighbor. They smile and say, "Hey, how's your day going?" You answer, "It's going well so far. I had a busy morning, but things are a little calmer now." Then they say, "That's good. Did you get everything done?" And you answer, "Not everything, but I made a good start. I still have a few things to do this afternoon." Then they say, "Well, I hope the rest of your day goes smoothly." And you answer, "Thanks. I hope so too." That is such a normal conversation, and that is exactly why it is useful. Because speaking practice should include the language people actually use every day, not only the language that looks impressive on paper. Now, I want you to notice something else. Good listening is not only hearing the words, it is also hearing the mood. For example, when someone says, "It's been a long day," they may not only be sharing information, they may also be expressing tiredness, frustration, or even a quiet wish for understanding. If you only hear the sentence, you catch the meaning. But if you hear the mood too, you understand the person more deeply. And this helps your speaking as well, because better listening creates better responses. If someone says, "It's been a long day," a natural response could be, "Yeah, I can tell. You seem tired." Or, "I know what you mean. It's been busy for me too." Or simply, "I hope you get some rest later." Daily English is full of these soft human moments, and listening carefully helps you enter them more naturally. Let's move into another common situation: going to a store, buying something, or asking for help in a public place. This is excellent practice because it uses clear, practical language, and it repeats often in daily life. Imagine that you walk into a small store. You look around for a moment, but you do not see what you need. You ask, "Excuse me, do you have this in another size?" Or, "Hi, can you tell me where I can find bottled water?" Or, how much is this? Or, do you take cards? These are short sentences, but they give you real power because they help you function in English, not just study it. And functional English builds confidence very quickly because you can feel its usefulness immediately. Now imagine a short exchange in a store. You ask, "Excuse me, do you have this in black?" The other person answers, "Let me check for you." Then they return and say, "Yes, we do. Would you like me to bring it for you?" You answer, "Yes, please. That would be great." Or maybe they say, "Sorry, we're out of that color right now." And you respond, "Okay, no problem. Do you have it in gray or blue?" Listen to how simple and flexible these responses are. You do not need very advanced English to handle a real situation well. You just need calm practice with useful sentence patterns. And the more you repeat them, the more available they become when you need them. It is also helpful to practice what to say when you do not understand something, because that moment happens to every learner, and even to native speakers sometimes. There is nothing embarrassing about it. What matters is having a calm, natural response ready. You can say, "Sorry, could you repeat that?" I didn't catch the last part. Could you say that a little more slowly? I'm not sure I understood. Do you mean this one? Or that one? These sentences are not signs of weakness. They are signs of active communication. They help you stay in the conversation. And staying in the conversation is much more important than pretending you understood when you did not. Good communication is honest, patient, and clear. Let's practice a listening and speaking moment built around misunderstanding. Imagine someone says something quickly, and you only understand half of it. Instead of freezing, you can respond naturally. "Sorry, could you say that again? I heard the first part, but not the last part." Then the person repeats it, and now you understand. You answer, "Oh, okay, got it. Thanks for repeating that." That tiny exchange is very important because it teaches you that communication can continue even after confusion. English does not need to stop just because one sentence was unclear. You can repair the conversation, and repair language is a big part of real fluency. Now let's imagine a phone conversation, because daily English often happens through calls, voice messages, ciao, or short audio conversations. Phone English can feel a little harder because you cannot see the other person's face. So listening becomes even more important. Imagine you answer the phone and say, "Hi, this is Julia," or "Hello, how are you?" Then the other person says, "Hi, I just wanted to check in with you about later." And you respond, "Sure. What time were you thinking?" Then they say, "Maybe around 6, if that works for you." And you answer, "6 should be fine. Just send me a message before you leave." That is very normal spoken English. And if you practice little scenes like this, phone conversations begin to feel much less stressful. Here is another useful phone situation. Someone calls, but you are busy. You can say, "Hi, I'm a little busy right now. Can I call you back in about 20 minutes? Or I can talk, but only for a minute. I'm just heading out the door." This kind of language is practical, polite, and realistic. And it teaches you something important. Speaking naturally is not always about long, perfect sentences. Sometimes it is about clear, short sentences that fit the moment. That is why daily practice works so well, because life itself teaches you what kind of sentence you need. Now let's slow down for a moment and practice a paragraph about the middle of the day. This is a wonderful time to speak about energy, or progress, and how your day is unfolding. Imagine that it is now afternoon, and you quietly say to yourself, "The morning went by quickly. I got some things done, but I still have more to do. I'm feeling a little tired now, so I might take a short break. After that, I want to get back to work and finish at least one more important thing. I don't need to do everything perfectly. I just want to keep moving forward." That paragraph sounds natural because it reflects real life. It includes feelings, plans, and self-encouragement. And these are exactly the things that make English feel personal and alive. Practice also becomes stronger when you learn to talk about food, meals, and small daily choices. All because these topics appear all the time in real conversation. You might say, "I'm getting hungry. I think I'll make something simple for lunch. I don't feel like cooking today. I just want something quick. I had a sandwich earlier, but now I want something warm. I'm trying to drink more water today." These are highly useful daily sentences, and they are easy to personalize, which means they are easy to remember. The more you connect English to your own meals, your own tastes, and your own habits, the more naturally the language stays with you. Imagine a short lunch conversation with a friend or coworker. They ask, "Did you already eat?" You answer, "Not yet. I'm thinking about it now." Or, "Yeah, I had lunch a little while ago." Then they ask, "What did you have?" And you answer, "I had something simple, just rice and vegetables." Or maybe, "I grabbed a sandwich because I didn't have much time." Then they say, "That sounds good." And the conversation continues naturally. Notice again how daily English is built from ordinary life: meals, time, energy, preferences. These topics may seem simple, but they are the heart of daily communication. Now I want to guide you into a very helpful exercise, talking about plans, because people talk about plans all the time, even very small plans. And it is a great way to build confident speaking. You can say, "After this, I'm going to run a few errands. Later, I need to make a phone call. I'm planning to clean my room this evening." I might go out for a short walk after dinner. I haven't decided yet, but I may stay home tonight. When you can talk about your plans, your English becomes more flexible because you are no longer speaking only about the present. You are moving between now, later, and tonight. And that gives your speaking a more natural rhythm. Let's do one more realistic daily paragraph together. And this time, I want you to feel the flow very gently. It's the afternoon now, and I'm trying to stay focused. I've already done a few things today, which feels good. But there are still some tasks waiting for me. I'm a little tired, so I may take a short break before I continue. Later, I need to stop by the store and pick up a few things. After that, I'd like to come home, relax for a while, and have a quiet evening. This kind of paragraph practice is so effective because it teaches you to link time, action, and feeling in one natural stream. And that is how strong speaking develops. One realistic flow at a time. Let's imagine that you are on your way home or moving from one place to another. This part of the day often brings many small feelings. Sometimes relief, sometimes tiredness, sometimes hunger, sometimes even a little stress if the roads are busy or the train is crowded. This means there is a lot of real English hidden in these moments. You might say, I'm on my way home now. The traffic is moving slowly. It's more crowded than I expected. I hope I get home soon. I forgot how tired I was until I sat down. I can't wait to take off my shoes and relax. These sentences sound so ordinary, but that is their strength. Ordinary English is the language you need most often, and repeating it gives you a strong foundation for real communication. Listening practice can also become more emotional at this time of day, because in the evening, people often speak more freely about how they feel. A person may say, I'm exhausted today. I'm so glad to be home. I need a quiet evening. I don't want to think about work anymore. These are not difficult sentences, but they carry emotional meaning. And when you listen to daily English carefully, you begin to hear not only the action, but also the feeling. If someone says, I don't want to think about work anymore, they may be asking for peace, or space, or understanding. When you train your ear to hear daily emotions inside simple English, your speaking becomes warmer, more natural, and more human. Let's practice a soft evening conversation. Imagine that you arrive home and someone asks you, how was your day? This question appears everywhere in daily life, and your answer can go in many directions. You might say, it was pretty good overall, just a little busy. Or, it was longer than I expected, but I got through it. Or, honestly, I'm tired, but I'm okay. Or maybe, it was a nice day. I got a lot done, and I feel good about that. These answers are useful because they sound balanced and natural. They are not too short and not too formal. They help you speak like a real person reflecting on a real day. Now let's turn that into a longer exchange. Someone says, "How was your day?" You answer, "It was a little busy, but not too bad. I had a few things to take care of, and everything took longer than I thought." Then they say, "That sounds tiring. Did you at least get everything done?" And you respond, "Not everything, but I finished the most important part, so I feel okay about it." Then they ask, "Are you going to do anything else tonight?" And you answer, "Not much. I just want to eat, relax, and maybe go to bed a little early." This is such practical English because it moves naturally from the past to the result to the evening plan. And that kind of movement is what real conversation often sounds like. Now, I want to help you with another very useful daily topic, talking about your home life, because home is where many of the most repeated daily sentences happen. You might say, "I need to clean up a little. The kitchen is a mess. I left my bag by the door. I should change into something more comfortable. I need to fold these clothes. I haven't washed the dishes yet. The room feels stuffy. I should open a window." These are deeply practical sentences, and they are perfect for listening and speaking practice because they are connected to actions you can actually see. When language connects to something visible, it becomes easier for your brain to hold onto it. Let's imagine a calm home routine paragraph. "I got home and put my things down near the door. The first thing I wanted to do was change into something comfortable. After that, I looked around and noticed a few things I needed to clean up. The kitchen needed attention, and there were a couple of clothes I had forgotten to fold. I didn't want to do everything at once, so I just started with one small task. That made me feel better already." This paragraph teaches something very important. Natural English often grows through small details, not only big actions. You do not need a dramatic story to practice well. You only need a real situation and a calm description of what is happening. Now let's talk about dinner time, because food conversations are some of the most common in daily English, and they offer so many useful speaking patterns. You may ask yourself, "What should I eat tonight? Do I want something light or something filling? Do I feel like cooking? Or should I order something? Do I have enough ingredients at home? I'm too tired to make anything complicated. Maybe I'll just make something simple." These are exactly the kinds of thoughts many people have at the end of the day, and that makes them excellent material for speaking practice because they are repetitive, useful, and easy to personalize. Imagine you are deciding what to eat, and you speak softly to yourself in English. "I'm getting hungry, but I don't want to spend too much time cooking. I think I'll make something quick and simple. Maybe eggs and toast, or rice with vegetables. I should check what I already have in the kitchen before I decide. If I'm missing something, Maybe I can make do with what's already here. That paragraph sounds so natural, and it teaches flexible daily English, especially the kind of English used when making choices, planning lightly, and adjusting to reality. Those are daily life speaking skills, and they matter a lot. Now let's imagine a conversation around dinner. Someone asks, "Have you eaten yet?" You answer, "Not yet. I'm still deciding what to make." Or, "Yes. I ate a little while ago." Then they ask, "What did you have?" And you answer, "I kept it simple tonight. I didn't have much energy to cook." Or maybe, "I made something warm because I wanted comfort food." These are wonderful practice lines because they feel relaxed and familiar. And they teach you how to speak about preferences, energy, and everyday choices without needing complicated grammar. As the evening continues, daily English often becomes more personal. And this is a beautiful space for listening and speaking practice. In the evening, people often talk about how the day felt, what they learned, what annoyed them, what made them happy, or what they hope tomorrow will be like. This kind of English is powerful because it helps you express your inner life, not only your outer actions. You might say, "Today felt longer than usual. I was more productive than I expected. I got distracted a few times, but I still made progress. I'm proud of myself for staying patient. I wish I had more time, but I did what I could." These are honest, reflective sentences, and speaking this way helps your English become more meaningful. Let's practice an evening reflection paragraph. And as you listen, notice how the thoughts connect naturally. Today wasn't perfect, but it was still a good day in many ways. I got tired in the middle of the day, and I lost focus for a while, but I came back to what mattered. I finished some important things, had a few quiet moments, and learned something small about myself too. I think I need more balance, but I'm getting better at noticing what I need. Tonight, I just want to rest and let the day end peacefully. This paragraph is useful not only for language, but also for rhythm. It teaches you how to move from event to feeling to reflection. And that makes your English sound deeper and more natural. Now let's bring in another highly useful kind of daily English: making gentle plans for tomorrow, because many conversations at night naturally include tomorrow. You might say, "I need to wake up a little earlier tomorrow. I have a few errands to run in the morning. I don't want tomorrow to feel rushed. I should prepare a few things tonight so the morning feels easier. I hope tomorrow goes more smoothly. I need to remember to send that message." These are excellent speaking lines because they are realistic, simple, and connected to time. And when you learn to move between today and tomorrow naturally, your English becomes much more flexible. Imagine you are preparing for the next day and speaking softly to yourself. "Before I go to bed, I want to get a few things ready for tomorrow. I don't want to wake up feeling rushed. so I'll prepare what I can tonight. I need to charge my phone, put my bag in the right place, and make sure I don't forget anything important. If I do a little now, tomorrow morning will feel easier. That paragraph teaches the language of preparation. And this is one of the most useful kinds of English in daily life. Because people constantly talk about what needs to be ready, what they do not want to forget, and what will make tomorrow smoother. Now, let's practice some listening and speaking around tiredness, because this feeling appears often in evening English, and it can be expressed in many natural ways. You can say, "I'm tired." You can also say, "I'm getting sleepy. I feel drained. I don't have much energy left tonight. I think I'm running out of steam. I'm too tired to think clearly right now." Each sentence is slightly different, but all of them are useful. And practicing several natural versions of one feeling helps your speaking become more flexible and expressive. It also helps your listening, because when someone else speaks about tiredness, you will recognize the meaning more quickly. Now imagine a conversation late in the day. Someone says, "You look tired," and you answer, "Yeah, it's been a long one. I think I need to rest tonight." Then they say, "Are you going to sleep early?" And you respond, "I hope so. I don't want to stay up too late. I need a good night's sleep." This kind of exchange is simple, but it sounds exactly like real life. And that is why it matters. The goal is not to impress. The goal is to make daily English feel familiar enough that you can step into it comfortably. I also want to guide you into an important speaking habit, describing what you need. Because daily life is full of small needs, and being able to express them clearly builds confidence very quickly. You may need rest, food, water, time, quiet, help, or space. You might say, "I need a few quiet minutes. I need to sit down for a while. I need something warm to drink. I need to slow down. I need to organize my thoughts. I need to ask for help with this." These are deeply human sentences. And daily English becomes much stronger when it helps you speak honestly about your needs. Let's do a gentle self-talk paragraph for this. "I've been doing a lot today, and I think I need to slow down now. I don't need to push myself any further tonight. What I need most is a little quiet, a little rest, and a simple evening. Maybe I'll drink some tea, put my phone away for a while, and give my mind time to settle. Tomorrow is another day, and I can start again then." This kind of paragraph helps you practice more than vocabulary. It helps you practice tone, and tone matters. Natural English is not only about the right words, it is also about the feeling with which you say them. Imagine that you are sitting quietly for a moment, and your phone lights up. A friend sends you a message and asks, "How are you doing tonight?" This is such a simple question, but your answer can take many natural forms. You might say, I'm doing okay. Just a little tired after a long day. Or I'm good. Finally relaxing a bit. Or maybe I'm feeling better now that I'm home. Each of these answers sounds that is something I really want you to notice. Daily English is often not about saying the most perfect thing. It is about saying something that feels natural enough to keep the connection going. Let's build that into a fuller exchange. Your friend says, "How are you doing tonight?" You answer, "I'm okay. Just a little tired, but I'm finally starting to relax." Then your friend says, "Yeah, I know that feeling. Did you have a busy day?" And you respond, "I did. It wasn't terrible, but it felt long. I had a few things to finish, and I didn't really stop much during the day." Then your friend says, "Well, I'm glad you can rest now." And you answer, "Me too. I think I really needed a quiet evening." That is beautifully natural English because it is honest, balanced, and easy to imagine in real life. Now I want you to notice something important about listening in these moments. When people talk in the evening, especially with friends or people they feel close to, their English often becomes softer, less formal, and more emotional. A person may not say, "I experienced a demanding day." They may simply say, "Today was a lot," or "I'm wiped out," or "I'm done for the day." These expressions carry feeling, and daily listening practice helps you become familiar with them. Not only the words themselves, but the mood they carry. When someone says, "I'm wiped out," they probably mean they are very tired, maybe physically, maybe mentally. And your response can meet that feeling naturally. You can say, "Yeah, you should get some rest." Or, "That sounds exhausting." Or, "I hope tomorrow is easier for you." This is the kind of listening that makes your English feel truly human. Let's practice a soft listening and speaking paragraph based on this kind of moment. I talked to a friend in the evening, and as soon as I heard their voice, I could tell they were tired. They didn't say much at first, but I could hear it in the way they spoke. So I asked if they were okay. They said it had been a really long day and that they were glad it was finally over. I listened, let them speak, and tried to respond in a calm and supportive way. Sometimes good English is not about saying a lot. Sometimes it is about understanding the feeling inside simple words. This paragraph matters because it teaches not only vocabulary, but also emotional listening. And emotional listening makes conversations stronger. Now let's move into another common evening situation. Making small plans with someone. Maybe a friend asks if you want to meet tomorrow. And maybe a family member asks what time dinner will be. Maybe someone wants to know if you are free later in the week. These are such practical speaking moments, and they happen all the time. You may say, "Tomorrow should be fine for me. I'm free after lunch. I think I can do that. But let me check first." I'm not completely sure yet. I'll let you know tonight. I can make time for that. Or I may be busy in the afternoon, but the evening is better. These are the patterns that make English functional and relaxed because they help you speak about availability, timing, and gentle uncertainty in a very natural way. Imagine a short conversation like this. Someone says, "Are you free tomorrow afternoon?" And you answer, "I think so, but I need to double check something first." Then they say, "No problem. Just let me know later." And you respond, "I will. I should know by tonight." Or maybe someone says, "Do you want to grab coffee sometime this week?" And you answer, "Yeah, that sounds nice. I've been meaning to get out a little more. Maybe Thursday or Friday would work." This is exactly the kind of English that makes daily communication easier because it is flexible, polite, and realistic. And when you practice it often, you begin to speak about plans much more naturally. Now, I want to bring in a very helpful daily topic, talking about what happened during the day in simple detail. How? Because one of the most natural things people do in conversation is tell a small story about their day. Not a big dramatic story. Just a little report of what happened. And this is perfect for both listening and speaking practice. You might say, "This morning started slowly, but after that, things got busy. I had to take care of a few things, and one of them took longer than I expected. Later in the afternoon, I finally had time to sit down and focus. After that, the day felt more manageable." Notice how natural that sounds. It is not complicated, but it moves through time in a very useful way. Morning. Later. After that. This kind of structure helps your English feel organized without sounding stiff. Let's turn that into a longer daily story paragraph. Today started quietly, and for a while I thought it would be a very easy day. But then a few unexpected things came up, and I had to change my plans. At first, that made me feel a little stressed because I wanted everything to go smoothly. But after a while, I just focused on one thing at a time. That helped a lot. By the afternoon, things were calmer, and I felt more in control again. In the evening, I looked back and realized that the day wasn't perfect, but I handled it better than I would have in the past. This paragraph is a wonderful example of real-life English because it mixes events, feelings, and reflection all in one flow. And that is exactly what many natural conversations sound like. Another beautiful way to practice daily English is by describing little comforts, because daily life is not only about tasks and stress. It is also about rest, peace, and small moments that make you feel better. You can say, "I'm enjoying this quiet moment. This cup of tea feels nice. The room feels peaceful right now. I needed this break. It feels good to sit down after such a long day. I'm glad I finally have time to breathe." These are simple sentences, but they add something very important to your speaking. They help you talk about comfort, relief, and appreciation. And those are very human things to express. I imagine that you are resting in the evening and speaking softly to yourself. Everything feels a little quieter now, and I'm grateful for that. I didn't realize how much I needed this kind of stillness until I finally stopped moving. Sometimes the best part of the day is this simple moment when there is nothing urgent, nothing loud, and no need to rush. I can just sit here, breathe, and let myself settle. That paragraph is useful because it teaches calm, reflective English. And calm, reflective English is often what makes a speaker sound natural and emotionally grounded. Now, let's practice a very common situation: responding to someone who is telling you about their day. This is such an important speaking skill because conversation is not only about sharing your own thoughts. It is also about reacting naturally to what someone else says. If someone tells you, "I had such a busy day," you might answer, "Really? What happened?" Or, "That sounds exhausting." Or, "Yeah." Those kinds of days can be a lot. If someone says, "I finally got everything done," you might respond, "That must feel good," or "I'm glad it worked out." These responses are simple, but they make a conversation feel alive because they show attention, interest, and connection. Let's build a dialogue around this. Someone says, "I spent the whole afternoon trying to finish one thing, and it took forever." You answer, "Oh no, that sounds frustrating. Did you finally get it done?" Then they say, "Yeah, eventually, but it took much longer than I expected." And you respond, "At least it's over now. You can relax a little tonight." Listen to how normal that exchange feels. It is not full of difficult words, but it sounds natural because it fits a real emotional situation. And this is why daily English practice should always include response language, because good conversation depends on it. Now I want to bring your attention to another useful area, talking about distractions, because real life is full of them, and people often mention them in daily speech. You might say, "I kept getting distracted today. I wanted to focus, but my mind was all over the place. I couldn't really settle down. There was too much going on around me. I had to stop and restart a few times." These are practical and expressive sentences, and they are especially useful because they help you talk honestly about productivity, energy, and mental focus, which are very common daily topics. Imagine a self-talk paragraph about distraction. "I tried to focus today, but it wasn't easy. My attention kept moving from one thing to another, and I felt like I couldn't stay with one task for very long. At first, that frustrated me, but later I reminded myself to slow down and start again. I didn't need to be perfect. I just needed to return to what mattered. That helped me feel calmer." This paragraph teaches gentle, honest English, And that kind of English is so valuable because it sounds like a real person working through a real day. Now let's talk about texting language in spoken English. Not text abbreviations, but the kind of spoken English people use when they talk about messages. You may say, I need to reply to that message. I saw it earlier, but I forgot to answer. I'll text you when I get home. She sent me a quick update. He said he'd let me know later. I've been meaning to get back to them. These are very common phrases, and they show up constantly in real conversations. Practicing them helps you speak about modern daily communication in a very natural way. Imagine a short evening exchange. Someone says, "Did you ever reply to that message?" You answer, "Not yet. I saw it, but I wanted to answer properly when I had more time." Then they say, "That makes sense." And you respond, "Yeah." I don't like giving rushed replies when something needs a real answer. This is excellent daily English because it speaks about habits, preferences, and small communication choices that many people understand. Now let's move into a soft speaking exercise about winding down. Because this is a phrase people use often. To wind down means to relax gradually at the end of the day. And it gives us so many beautiful practical sentences. You might say, "I'm trying to wind down a little. I don't want to look at my phone too much tonight. I think I need a slower evening. I want to do something quiet before bed. I'm trying to let my mind settle." These lines sound natural and calm, and they are especially useful for evening English because many people talk this way when they are trying to move from activity into rest. Let's practice a winding down paragraph. Tonight, I'm trying to keep things simple. I don't want too much noise, and I don't want to fill every minute with activity. I think I need a slow evening, something quiet, maybe some music, maybe a warm drink, maybe just a little time without pressure. I've had enough stimulation for one day, and now I want to let my mind settle. This paragraph is helpful because it teaches peaceful, natural English, and it also gives your voice a softer rhythm, which is wonderful for listening and shadowing practice. Now I want to guide you into a more reflective speaking moment because daily English also includes private thoughts, the kind you may not say to everyone, but that still matter deeply in your inner language. In the evening, you may think about what went well, what felt hard, what you wish had been different, or what you want to carry into tomorrow. And this is a beautiful place to practice more thoughtful English. You might say, "I handled that better than I expected. I wish I had stayed calmer earlier. I learned something useful today. I need to be more patient with myself. I don't have everything figured out, but I'm making progress." These are powerful sentences because they help English become part of your self-understanding, not just part of study. Let's do a gentle reflection paragraph together. There were a few moments today when I felt overwhelmed, and I didn't always respond in the best way. but I'm trying not to judge myself too harshly. I'm still learning how to move through my days with more calm and clarity. I did some things well, and I can be proud of that. The rest can wait. I don't need every day to be perfect in order for it to matter. This paragraph is deeply useful because it teaches balanced emotional English, the kind of language that helps you reflect honestly without sounding too harsh or too dramatic. Another important speaking skill is knowing how to end a conversation naturally, because many daily interactions are short, and closing them well makes you sound smoother and more confident. You can say, "Anyway, I should let you go. It was nice talking to you. I'm going to get some rest now. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good night. Take care. Speak soon." These phrases appear constantly in evening calls and messages, and learning them gives your daily English a very natural finish. Imagine a short closing conversation. You say, "It was really nice catching up with you, but I should probably get ready for bed." Then the other person says, "Of course. Get some rest." And you answer, "Thanks. You too. I'll talk to you tomorrow." That is simple, clear, and completely natural. And sometimes sounding natural in the ending of a conversation is just as important as sounding natural at the beginning. Now let's do one more extended paragraph that brings many evening ideas together. The evening felt quieter than the rest of the day, and I was grateful for that. I answered a few messages, had a simple dinner, and spent a little time thinking about how the day had gone. There were still a few things I could have done, but I decided not to pressure myself anymore tonight. I had already done enough. What I needed now was rest, calm, and a chance to begin again tomorrow with a clearer mind. This is such strong daily life English because it joins action, choice, emotion, and self-awareness in one natural flow. Let's imagine that you are speaking with someone in the evening and they ask, "Are you still awake? Or are you getting ready for bed?" These are common little questions, and your answers can be soft and natural. You might say, "Yeah, I'm still up, but I won't be for much longer." Or, "I'm just getting ready to sleep now." Or maybe, "Not yet, but I'm definitely getting tired." These small answers matter because real fluency is built from repeated ordinary moments like these. It is not only built from big discussions or advanced words. It is built from the simple English that fits naturally into your real day. Let's turn that into a gentle conversation. Someone says, "Are you getting ready for bed?" And you answer, "Yeah, I think so. I'm starting to feel really sleepy." Then they say, "Same here. It's been a long day." And you respond, "It really has. I think we both need a good night's sleep." Then they say, "Definitely." And you answer, "Well, I hope you sleep well tonight." That exchange sounds very normal. And that is exactly why it is powerful. Because if English can feel normal in your mouth, it becomes easier to trust it. Now, I want you to notice something about night listening. At night, people often speak more slowly, but they may also speak more quietly or less clearly because they are tired. This means your listening needs to stay calm. If someone sounds low energy and says, "I'm half asleep," or "I can barely keep my eyes open," your job as a listener is not only to hear the words, but to understand the tired feeling behind them. This helps you respond naturally. You might say, "Then you should definitely get some rest." Or, "Yeah, you sound exhausted." Or simply, "Go get some sleep. We can talk tomorrow." These responses are part of daily human English, and they are worth practicing because they sound caring, natural, and real. Let's practice a listening and speaking paragraph built around that feeling. I could hear in their voice that they were getting tired. They were still trying to talk, but their energy was fading, and everything they said sounded slower than before. After a moment, I gently told them they should get some rest because it sounded like they had already had enough for one day. They laughed a little, agreed with me, and said they would head to bed soon. This kind of English is useful because it teaches you how tiredness sounds in real conversation. Bia, not just how it looks in vocabulary lists. Now let's move into another beautiful nightly topic. The little things people remember right before bed. This happens to everyone. You are almost ready to sleep, and suddenly you think of something you forgot, a message you did not send, something you meant to prepare, something you need to do tomorrow. This gives us very useful daily English. You might say, "I just remembered something. I forgot to send that email. I need to write that down before I forget again. I almost forgot to set my alarm. I should leave a note for myself. I don't want this to slip my mind tomorrow." These are extremely common real-life sentences. Practicing them helps your English feel closer to your actual thoughts. Imagine a quiet self-talk paragraph like this. I was almost ready to sleep, and then I suddenly remembered one more thing I needed to do. It wasn't anything big, but I knew it would bother me if I ignored it. So I got up for a moment, wrote it down, and put it where I could see it in the morning. That helped me relax, because once it was out of my head, I didn't need to keep thinking about it. This paragraph teaches not only useful vocabulary, but also the natural emotional flow of a real nighttime moment. Thought, memory, action, relief. That is such good daily English practice. Now let's talk about a very human feeling that often appears at night: thinking too much. Many people become more thoughtful when everything gets quiet. And this means night English often includes sentences about the mind, about thoughts, about wanting peace. You might say, "My mind is still busy. I'm trying not to overthink everything tonight. I need to let this go for now. I've been thinking about the same thing all evening. I want to clear my head before I sleep. I don't want to carry all this tension into tomorrow. These are powerful daily life sentences because they help you speak about your inner experience. And that kind of English makes you sound real, not rehearsed. Let's build a calm, reflective paragraph with that idea. The house is quiet now, but my mind is still moving. I keep replaying parts of the day, even though I know I need to let them go. I don't want to stay stuck in every small detail, especially not at the end of a long day. I think what I really need is to breathe, slow down, and remind myself that not everything has to be solved tonight. Some things can wait until tomorrow. This kind of paragraph is so useful because it sounds like natural inner speech. And natural inner speech is a wonderful way to build fluency from the inside. Now, let's imagine a comforting conversation. Someone says to you, "You sound like you have a lot on your mind," and you answer, "Yeah, a little. I think I'm just tired and overthinking things." Then they say, "That happens. Maybe you just need rest." And you respond, "I think you're right. Everything feels heavier when I'm tired." Listen to how natural that exchange is. There is no difficult grammar here, but there is real life in it. And real life is what gives English its power. Another very useful night topic is gratitude, not in a dramatic way, just in a simple human way. At the end of the day, many people naturally notice one or two things that felt good, or peaceful, or meaningful. And this gives us lovely English practice. You might say, "I'm glad I made it through the day. I'm grateful for a quiet evening. I'm happy I got to talk to someone I care about. I'm thankful things calmed down tonight. I'm glad tomorrow is a new chance to start again." These lines are beautiful because they are simple, sincere, and emotionally clear. Let's practice a gratitude paragraph. Today had its difficult moments, but it also had some good ones. And I don't want to forget that. I'm grateful that I got through what I needed to get through. I'm grateful for the quiet I have right now. And I'm grateful that tomorrow will give me another chance to begin again. I don't need everything in life to be perfect in order to appreciate what is still good. This paragraph helps your English become softer, deeper, wide, and more expressive, all without needing complicated vocabulary. Now let's turn to a very practical kind of nightly English, setting intentions for tomorrow. This is slightly different from making plans. Plans are often about what you will do, but intentions are more about how you want to feel, how you want to move through the day, or what kind of attitude you want to keep. You might say, "Tomorrow I want to be a little more organized. I want to start the day calmly. I want to be more patient with myself. I want to stay focused on what really matters. I don't want to rush for no reason. I want to handle things one step at a time." This kind of language is extremely useful because it lets you speak not only about actions, but also about mindset. Imagine this soft bedtime paragraph. Before I fall asleep tonight, I want to set a simple intention for tomorrow. I don't want tomorrow to feel chaotic, and I don't want to start the day with stress. I want to wake up, take a breath, and move through the morning with a little more calm. Even if the day gets busy later, I want to remember that I can still slow down inside myself. This is excellent daily English because it sounds thoughtful, grounded, and natural, and it helps you practice speaking from a deeper place. Now let's bring in a speaking exercise that is very good for fluency. Retelling your day in a short, natural summary. This is one of the most helpful habits you can build because it trains listening, memory, speaking flow, and emotional expression all at the same time. You can do this alone or with someone else, and you do not need perfect sentences. You only need a simple structure, how the day started, what happened, how you felt, and what you hope for next. For example, you might say, "Today started off slowly, but then it got busy. I had a few things to deal with, and some of them took more energy than I expected. By the evening, I was tired, but I also felt relieved that I had made it through the day. Now I just want some rest and a fresh start tomorrow." That kind of paragraph is pure daily life English, and it teaches your mouth how to carry a thought from beginning to end. Let's practice another one together. Today felt a little up and down. There were moments when I felt focused and clear, and there were other moments when I felt distracted and tired. I didn't get everything done, but I handled the important things. And that matters. Tonight, I'm trying not to judge the day too harshly. I just want to accept it for what it was and let myself rest. This kind of speaking is very natural because real days are rarely perfect, and real English often reflects that gentle honesty. Now I want to guide you into some very useful nightly response lines. The kind of short sentences that people say again and again. If someone says, "I'm heading to bed," you can answer, "Okay, sleep well." If someone says, "I'll talk to you tomorrow," you can say, "Sounds good. Talk to you then." If someone says, "I'm so tired tonight," you can answer, "Yeah, you should get some rest." If someone says, "I still have a lot on my mind," you can say, "I hope you're able to relax a little before sleep." These small responses make conversations sound natural, and learning them well gives you smoother instincts in English. Let's imagine a final little conversation for the night. Someone says, "I think I'm going to sleep now," and you answer, "Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. It's getting late." Then they say, "I hope tomorrow is easier," and you respond, "Me too. Let's hope for a calmer day." Then they say, "Good night," and you answer, "Good night. Sleep well." That is such ordinary English. And because it is so ordinary, it is exactly the kind of language you should practice until it feels effortless. Now let's talk briefly about silence, because silence is part of communication too. In daily life, not every moment needs words. Sometimes you pause. Sometimes you breathe. Sometimes you simply listen and then answer in a calmer way. This matters in English speaking too. You do not need to rush through every sentence. Natural speakers pause, think, and continue, especially when they are tired or reflecting. So if your English needs a second to arrive, that is okay. You can still sound natural. Sometimes a quiet pause before a sincere sentence sounds more human than a fast, perfect answer. That is something I really want you to carry with you. Let's build one last reflective paragraph for this section. The night is quieter now, and I can feel the day coming to a close. There is less pressure in the air, less movement, and less need to explain everything. I do not need to force anything right now. I can simply be here, speak gently, and let my thoughts settle in simple English. That is enough. In fact, that is more than enough, because this is how language becomes part of a real life, not through pressure, but through repeated calm moments of honesty and attention. Let's build a soft morning paragraph together. This morning felt different from yesterday. I woke up a little earlier, and for once, I didn't want to stay in bed for too long. The room felt quiet, and the air felt cooler than usual. I stayed still for a moment, trying to notice how I felt before I rushed into the day. I wasn't fully awake yet, but I could already tell that my mind was a little clearer than before. That helped me start the morning in a better way. This is such useful daily English because it teaches you how to describe change, comparison, and little emotional differences from one day to the next. And that is how real people often talk. Now let's imagine that you are getting ready while thinking about what today may bring. This is one of the best times to practice future-focused English in a natural way. You may say, I have a few important things to do today. I need to stay organized. I hope nothing unexpected comes up. I want to get started early. I'm not completely sure how the day will go, but I want to stay calm. I know I'll feel better once I begin. These are the exact kinds of thoughts people have while brushing their teeth, getting dressed, making breakfast, or checking the time. And speaking them in English helps you build a very real connection between language and daily movement. Listening practice also becomes stronger when you learn to hear common sentence shapes, not only single expressions. For example, listen to how natural this pattern sounds. I know I'll feel better once I begin. You can use the same shape in many ways. I know I'll understand more once I hear it again. I know I'll relax once I get home. I know I'll be okay once I finish this. When you notice useful sentence patterns like this, your English becomes more flexible. because you stop memorizing one sentence at a time and start feeling how natural structures work. Amit, this kind of listening is very powerful because it quietly teaches you how English is built. Now let's move into another common daily situation. Checking messages, looking at your schedule, or seeing what other people need from you. This is such a normal part of modern life, and it gives us many useful speaking lines. You might say, "Let me check my messages first. I need to see if anyone replied. I forgot to answer this last night. I have more to do today than I realized. My schedule is fuller than I thought. I need to rearrange a few things." Or, "That can wait until later." These sentences sound very ordinary, but ordinary daily language is exactly what makes your English more usable. Because these are the things that come up all the time, again and again. Imagine this short, realistic paragraph. "I looked at my phone this morning and realized I had a few messages I still needed to answer. None of them were urgent, but I didn't want to leave them for too long. I also checked my schedule and saw that the day might be a little busier than I had hoped. At first, that made me feel slightly tense, but then I reminded myself to take things one step at a time. There was no reason to panic. I just needed a clear head and a simple plan." That paragraph sounds natural because it includes thought, reaction, and self-control. And this is the kind of English that helps people sound grounded in real life. Now I want to guide you into a very useful speaking skill. Asking yourself practical questions in English, not test questions, but the kind of questions that help you manage your day. You might ask, "What do I need to do first? What can wait until later? Do I have enough time for this right now? What is the most important thing today? Do I need to bring anything with me? Have I forgotten something?" These little self-questions are wonderful practice because they teach you to think actively in English. And active thinking is one of the quiet foundations of fluency. When your mind begins to ask real questions in English, it becomes easier for your mouth to answer in English too. Let's do a self-question paragraph together. Before I started the day properly, I asked myself a few simple questions. What needs my attention first? What can I leave for later? And what will make the biggest difference today? Once I asked those questions, things felt less overwhelming. I didn't need to solve everything at once. I just needed to choose a starting point and trust that I could move forward from there. This paragraph is helpful because it teaches the language of decision making. And decision making is part of daily life from morning until night. Now let's imagine a real conversation that happens all the time. Someone asking about your plans for the day. They may say, "What are you up to today?" Or, "What do you have going on today?" And your answer can be simple but natural. You might say, "I have a few things to take care of. I need to run some errands. I'm mostly staying home today. I've got a busy afternoon ahead of me." or nothing too exciting. Just the usual stuff. These answers are so useful because they help you speak casually about your day. And casual speaking is what makes English feel comfortable in real conversation. Let's build that into a smooth exchange. Someone asks, "What are you up to today?" And you answer, "I have a few things I need to get done, but I'm trying not to rush too much." Then they say, "Sounds like a full day." And you respond, "Yeah, a little, but hopefully it will go smoothly." Or maybe someone asks, "Are you busy today?" And you say, "Kind of, but not in a stressful way. I just have a few tasks I've been putting off." That kind of language sounds natural because it is balanced, not too formal, not too dramatic, just real. And that is the kind of tone daily English needs. Now let's spend a little time with errands, because errands are a major part of daily life conversation. And they give you so many practical sentence patterns. You may say, "I need to stop by the store. I have to pick up a few things. I need to drop something off. I have to go to the bank. I'm just running a couple of errands. I want to get these small things out of the way." These are highly useful expressions, and you will hear them often in real conversations, especially when people talk about their afternoons, weekends, or what they are doing before they can finally relax. Imagine a little paragraph about errands. "I went out to run a few errands in the afternoon. Nothing was especially difficult, but it took more time than I expected. I needed to stop at 2 different places, and there were more people out than usual. By the time I finished, I felt a little tired, but also relieved, because it was nice to get those small tasks out of the way." This is beautiful daily English because it teaches sequence, simple reporting, and emotional result, which is exactly how real daily stories are told. Now let's imagine a situation where something small goes wrong, because daily English must also prepare you for real life not going exactly as planned. Maybe the store is closed. Maybe the bus is late. Maybe you forget your wallet. Maybe you take the wrong turn. These little problems create very useful language. You might say, "Oh no, I completely forgot. This isn't what I expected. I think I came at the wrong time. The place is closed. I must have missed it. I took the wrong street. I need to go back. Or I should have checked before I left." These sentences are incredibly important because real fluency includes reacting naturally when something unexpected happens. Let's build a simple real-life paragraph around that. "I got to the store and realized it was closed. At first, I just stood there for a second feeling annoyed because I had made the trip for nothing. Then I remembered that I could come back later or try again tomorrow. It wasn't a huge problem, just a small inconvenience. So I tried not to let it ruin the rest of my day." This paragraph teaches something very useful: how to express disappointment in a calm, everyday way. And this is exactly how daily English often sounds. Not dramatic, just real. Now I want to help you with another important skill. Sounding natural when you make a mistake, because all people make mistakes. And natural communication includes knowing how to respond when you do. You may say, "Sorry, that was my mistake. I read that wrong. I forgot about that. I misunderstood what you meant. Let me fix that. My bad. I should have checked more carefully." These lines are practical, honest, and easy to use. And they make conversations smoother because they help you stay calm and open instead of freezing or feeling embarrassed. Imagine a short exchange. Someone says, "We were supposed to meet at 3, not 2:30. And you answer, "Oh, you're right. That was my mistake. I mixed up the time. Thanks for telling me." Then they say, "No worries," and the conversation continues. This is the kind of daily speaking that matters so much, because real English is not only about saying the right thing when everything goes smoothly. It is also about handling little mistakes with calm, natural language. Now let's move into another deeply practical area. Asking for a moment to think. This is one of the most useful speaking habits for learners because it gives you space without stopping the conversation completely. You can say, "Let me think for a second. Hold on. I'm trying to remember. Give me a moment. I know what I want to say. I just need a second." These phrases are natural, polite, and extremely helpful because they show that you are still engaged, even if your answer needs a little time. And that is very normal. Even native speakers do this all the time. Let's build that into a natural conversation. Someone asks, "What time did we say we were leaving?" And you answer, "Hold on. Let me think. I think we said around 5, but I'm not completely sure." Then they say, "That sounds right." And you respond, "Yeah, I'll double check just in case." Notice how useful that is. You do not need instant perfect memory. You only need calm in-between language that keeps the conversation alive while you think. Now let's talk about daily English in social situations. On especially short, friendly moments with people you do not know very well. Maybe a neighbor, a cashier, a receptionist, or someone waiting near you. These interactions are often short, but they are important because they happen often. And they are wonderful for building speaking confidence. You may say, "Hi, how's your day going? It's really warm today." This line is taking a while, isn't it? "I think it's going to rain later. That's a nice bag." Or, "Have you been waiting long?" These are gentle conversational openings, and learning how to use them makes daily English feel more alive in the outside world. Imagine this little moment. You are standing in line and someone says, It's taking longer than usual today." And you answer, "Yeah, it really is. I thought this would be quick." Then they laugh a little and say, "Same here. and suddenly a tiny human connection has happened. This is daily English too. Brief, ordinary, but very real. And when you can handle these small public moments, your speaking confidence grows in a steady, natural way. Now I want to bring your attention to tone again, because daily English is not only about the words you choose, it is also about how gentle, relaxed, or direct your voice feels. For example, I need help can sound very different from I was wondering if you could help me for a second. Both are correct, but they carry different tones. Daily listening practice helps you hear these differences, and daily speaking practice helps you choose the tone that fits the situation. This is one of the things that slowly makes your English sound more natural, because natural speakers are always adjusting tone based on the moment. Let's practice that idea in a short paragraph. When I need something from someone, I try to speak clearly, but also kindly. I don't want to sound too abrupt, especially if the other person is busy. So instead of giving a direct command, I often soften my words a little. That usually makes the conversation smoother, and it helps me feel more comfortable too. This paragraph is useful because it teaches awareness. And awareness is a very big part of natural communication. Now let's move into another very common daily pattern: changing your mind. This happens in life all the time, and it gives us many natural English lines. You might say, "Actually, I changed my mind. On second thought, I think I'll stay home. I was going to go out, but now I'd rather rest. I thought I wanted coffee, but now I think I'll have tea. I was planning to do that today, but I may leave it until tomorrow." These are wonderfully natural speaking lines, and they help your English sound flexible and human, because real people are always adjusting their plans and preferences. Imagine this soft paragraph. I was going to go out again later, but after thinking about it, I changed my mind. I realized I was more tired than I thought, and I would rather stay in and have a quieter evening. Sometimes the best choice is simply to listen to your energy and adjust your plans. This is such natural English because it reflects how people really make decisions in everyday life. Another useful speaking area is encouragement, both for yourself and for other people. Daily life is full of little moments when someone needs reassurance, or when you need to steady yourself. You may say, "It'll be okay. I'll figure it out. One step at a time. Don't worry. You've got this. Take your time. There's no rush. Oh, I'm doing the best I can." These short, supportive lines may seem simple, but they are emotionally powerful, and they appear all the time in real human speech. Let's do a little encouraging paragraph. I reminded myself not to rush and not to make everything feel bigger than it was. I didn't need to have all the answers right away. I just needed to stay steady and keep going. Sometimes a calm sentence at the right moment can change the whole feeling of a day. That is why simple English matters so much. It gives you something kind and clear to hold on to. Let's imagine now that you are in the middle of a normal day where nothing especially dramatic is happening, and that is actually perfect for practice. Because some of the best English grows in very ordinary moments. Maybe you are tidying your room, organizing your desk, folding clothes, or putting things back where they belong. This kind of moment gives us many useful sentences. You might say, I need to put this away. I've been meaning to clean this up. This room feels better already. I didn't realize how messy things had gotten. I just want everything to feel a little more organized. I'll do a little now and the rest later. These are the kinds of thoughts people really have. And turning them into English is one of the easiest ways to build practical fluency. Let's build a paragraph around that. I looked around the room and realized a few things needed attention. Nothing was too serious, but there were small things out of place everywhere. A shirt on the chair, a book on the floor, some papers I had forgotten to put away. I didn't want to make it into a huge task, so I just started with one thing, then another. And little by little, the room began to feel calmer. It always surprises me how much better I feel when my space is a little more organized. This paragraph is powerful because it sounds real. It includes observation, action, and feeling, and that is a natural rhythm for daily English. Now let's move into another common daily life situation. Needing to leave the house and checking whether you have everything. This happens so often, and it gives us excellent practical language. You may say, do I have my keys? Did I bring my phone? I think I forgot my wallet. I need to make sure I have everything before I go. Let me check one more time. I don't want to come all the way back for something small. These are everyday thoughts, but everyday thoughts are exactly where fluency grows strongest because they repeat, and repeated language becomes familiar language. Imagine a short, natural paragraph. I was about to leave when I stopped and checked my bag one more time. I had my phone, my keys, and the things I needed for the day. But for a second, I thought I had forgotten my wallet. That little feeling of panic lasted only a moment, because then I found it in the side pocket where I had left it earlier. I laughed at myself a little, took a breath, and headed out the door. That is beautifully normal English, and normal English is exactly what you want to keep practicing until it feels easy. Now let's practice something very useful for both listening and speaking. Asking and answering simple questions in a relaxed tone, because daily conversations are full of short questions that can feel very fast if you are not used to them. Someone may ask, are you on your way? Did you eat yet? What time are you leaving? Are you almost here? Do you still want to go? Have you seen this message? These are the kinds of questions you hear in real life all the time. And the more familiar they become, the less stressful conversation feels. Let's work through a few natural replies. If someone asks, "Are you on your way?" you can say, "Almost. I'm just about to leave." If they ask, "Did you eat yet?" you can answer, "Not yet. I'm planning to in a little while." If they ask, "What time are you leaving?" you can say, "Probably in about 10 minutes. If they ask, "Are you almost here?" you might say, "I'm very close. I should be there soon." These answers are short, but they are very powerful because daily English often depends on quick, natural responses like these. Now let's imagine a small conversation with a friend before meeting up. Your friend sends a message and says, "Are you still coming?" And you answer, "Yes, I'm just getting ready now." Then they say, "Okay, no rush. Just let me know when you leave." And you respond, "I will. I should be out the door soon." That is such a normal exchange. And it matters because so much real English happens in these small logistical conversations. Not grand discussions, just little daily coordination. And that kind of English deserves practice too. Another daily life area that gives us wonderful English is asking for directions or clarifying where something is. Even if you already know some of these expressions, it is still very useful to hear them inside natural speech. You might say, "Excuse me, do you know where this street is? Is this the right way? How far is it from here? Do I need to turn left at the next corner? I think I may have gone the wrong way. Could you point me in the right direction?" These sentences are practical, respectful, and very common, and speaking them with confidence can make a real difference in daily life. Imagine a short real-life paragraph. I was trying to find a place I hadn't been to before. And after a few minutes, I realized I wasn't completely sure I was going the right way. So I stopped and asked someone nearby for help. They were kind, and they explained it simply. I needed to go straight for another block and then turn right. Once I heard that, everything made more sense, and I felt relieved almost immediately. This paragraph teaches very useful real-world English, especially the language of uncertainty, asking, receiving help, and feeling relief. Now let's move into another important part of daily speaking: how to talk when you are unsure, because life gives us uncertain moments all the time. And natural English includes soft uncertainty. You may say, "I'm not totally sure. I think so, but I'm not certain. Maybe. But I'd have to check. As far as I know, yes, I'm not sure if that's right. Let me look into it." These phrases are extremely useful because they help you speak honestly without sounding frozen or uncomfortable. They give you room to stay in the conversation while still being truthful. And that is a big part of natural communication. Let's build that into a simple exchange. Someone asks, "Is the meeting still at 4?" And you answer, "I think so, but I'd have to double check." Then they say, Okay, let me know when you can. And you respond, sure, I'll check and get back to you. That sounds very natural, very clear, and very human. Because daily communication often depends on these small, honest phrases that keep things moving even when you do not know everything immediately. Now, I want to guide you into another beautiful kind of daily English, speaking about mood changes. Because not every day feels the same from beginning to end. Sometimes you wake up feeling low and then feel better later. Sometimes the opposite happens. And being able to describe these changes makes your English more expressive. You can say, I was feeling a little off this morning, but I'm better now. I started the day with a lot of energy, but I'm slowing down now. My mood has been up and down today. I feel more settled than I did earlier. I was frustrated at first, but now I'm okay. These are powerful sentences because they help you describe your internal experience in a way that sounds honest and natural. Imagine a reflective paragraph about that. My mood shifted a few times during the day. In the morning, I felt a little tense, even though nothing was really wrong. Then later, after I got a few things done, I started to feel more steady. It wasn't a dramatic change, just a quiet one, but it mattered. By the evening, I could tell I had softened inside a little, and that made everything feel easier. This paragraph teaches emotional English in a very natural way. And emotional English is such an important part of sounding real, because real people do not only speak about actions, they speak about how the day feels inside them too. Now let's practice English for waiting, because waiting is such a normal part of life. Waiting for a reply, waiting in line, waiting for someone to arrive, waiting for food, waiting for news. And all of that comes with useful language. You may say, I've been waiting for a while. It's taking longer than I expected. I hope it doesn't take too much longer. I don't mind waiting a little. I thought they'd be here by now. Maybe something came up. I'll give it a few more minutes. These are all deeply practical daily life sentences, and they are easy to personalize, which means they are easy to remember and use. Let's imagine a realistic waiting paragraph. I got there a little early, so I knew I might have to wait. At first, it didn't bother me because I had some time and the place was quiet. But after a while, I started checking the time more often. I wondered if they were running late or if something had come up. I didn't want to assume the worst, so I just stayed calm and gave it a few more minutes. This is excellent daily English because it teaches the language of patience, uncertainty, and small emotional reactions, the kinds of things that happen in ordinary life all the time. Now, let's move into something many learners truly need: how to keep a conversation going when there is a small silence. Because sometimes the hardest part is not starting a conversation. It is continuing one. And daily English gives you many simple ways to do that. You can ask, so how has your week been? What have you been up to lately? Did anything interesting happen today? How did that go? And how are you feeling now? These questions are gentle, open, and natural, and they help the other person continue without feeling pressured. Imagine this short exchange. Someone says, "It's been a strange day." And instead of only saying, "Oh," you can continue naturally by asking, "Really? What happened?" Then they tell you a little more and you respond, "That sounds like a lot." Are things calmer now? This is how a real conversation breathes. One person shares, the other person shows interest. Then the story continues, and daily speaking becomes much easier when you practice these small bridges between one sentence and the next. Now I want to guide you into another useful skill. Making your speech a little softer and more natural with small connecting phrases. These phrases may seem simple, but they make a huge difference. For example, you can say, "To be honest, actually, for a while, in the end, at first, after that, for some reason, at that point, by then." These connectors help your thoughts flow. And when your thoughts flow, your English sounds smoother and more natural, not because it is more complicated, but because it is easier to follow. Let's hear those connectors inside a natural paragraph. At first, I thought the day would be simple, but actually, so it turned out to be a little busier than I expected. For a while, I felt like I was jumping from one thing to the next. But in the end, everything worked out better than I thought it would. That paragraph is simple. But the connectors give it shape, and shape makes speaking easier for the listener to follow. This is why listening carefully to natural connectors is such a powerful habit, because it teaches you how English moves from one idea to another. Now let's practice the language of checking in on someone, because daily English often includes care and attention. You may ask, "Are you okay? How are you holding up? Did things get any better? Are you feeling a little more relaxed now? How did everything turn out?" These are caring, conversational, and very common. And they make your English feel warmer because they show concern and connection. Imagine a soft conversation. You ask, "Are you feeling better now?" And the other person says, "A little. I think I just needed some quiet." Then you respond, "That makes sense." Sometimes a little quiet helps more than anything. This kind of exchange is very natural, and it teaches you something important. Not every good conversation needs big ideas. Sometimes simple care is enough, and simple care often sounds best in simple English. Now let's move into a speaking exercise that helps both fluency and confidence. Describing a whole small situation from beginning to end. Not a big story, just a short daily life moment. Here is one example. I went out to pick up a few things, and I thought it would be quick, but the place was busier than usual, so it took longer than I expected. At first, I felt a little impatient, But then I reminded myself that it wasn't a big deal. I finished what I needed to do, headed home, and felt better once it was over. That is such a useful paragraph to shadow because it contains expectation, problem, emotion, adjustment, and result, all in simple, natural English. Let's try another one. I was waiting for a reply all afternoon, and for a while I kept checking my phone too often. Eventually, I realized there was no point in stressing about it. So I put my phone down and focused on something else. Later, when the message finally came, I was much calmer than I had been earlier. This is real English, real feeling, and real daily rhythm. And practicing paragraphs like this helps you sound more fluid because the sentences belong together naturally. Another powerful daily habit is learning how to speak kindly to yourself in English when the day feels messy. This matters more than many people realize because the way you talk to yourself becomes part of your inner language. You might say, "It's okay. I can start again. This day doesn't have to be perfect. I'm doing what I can. I can still turn this around. One difficult moment doesn't define the whole day." These are deeply supportive daily English lines, and when you practice them, English becomes not only a tool for communication, but also a tool for steadiness. Let's make that into a short, reflective paragraph. The day felt a little scattered, and for a moment, I started being hard on myself. But then I caught that feeling and tried to speak to myself more gently. I reminded myself that one frustrating hour does not mean the whole day is ruined. There was still time to reset, breathe, and begin again from where I was. That made a difference. This kind of English sounds human because it is human. Yuri, it is the language of everyday emotional recovery, and that language matters deeply. Before we stop this section, I want you to remember that daily English lives in all the little places people usually ignore. Tidying a room, checking a bag, waiting for a message, asking for directions, feeling unsure, noticing a mood change, keeping a conversation alive, and speaking kindly to yourself when things do not go exactly as planned. All of these are real moments, and real moments are where lasting fluency is built. The more often you practice English through these honest daily situations, the more the language starts to feel like yours, not borrowed, not forced, but truly yours. Let's imagine one full ordinary day again, but this time with deeper awareness, with gentler listening, and with more confident speaking. You wake up, and before you do anything else, you simply notice your first thoughts. I'm awake. I still feel a little tired, but I'm here. It's a new day. Maybe the room feels warm. Maybe the air feels cool. Maybe the light through the window already tells you something about the weather. And without pressure, you begin to let English join you there. It looks bright outside. I think it's going to be a nice day. Or it seems quiet this morning. I'm glad the day is starting slowly. These are not grand sentences, but they are real. And when English begins with reality, it becomes easier to trust. Then the day starts to move. You sit up, stretch a little, and begin your first small routine. Maybe you wash your face. Maybe you brush your teeth. Maybe you head to the kitchen and reach for a glass of water. And all of this gives you natural English to use. I need some water first. I'm still waking up. I want a slow start today. I don't want to rush the morning. These are exactly the kinds of thoughts that can become your daily practice. Not because they are impressive, but because they are honest. And honesty is where natural speaking grows strongest. Now imagine that as you prepare breakfast, you also prepare your listening. Not in a heavy academic way, but in a calm human way. You listen to the rhythm of useful English. I'm making breakfast. I don't want anything too heavy. I think I'll keep it simple today. I need something quick, but I also want something warm. Listen to how those ideas move. They do not feel forced. They feel like daily life, and that is the point. Daily listening practice is not only about hearing English. It is about hearing how English lives inside ordinary routines, how it sounds when it belongs to a real person with a real morning, real hunger, real plans, and a real mood. Then maybe you check the time, look at your schedule, or remember something important you need to do. And instantly your English changes a little. Now it becomes the language of planning, deciding, and managing the day. I need to leave on time. I have a few important things to do. I should start with the hardest one. I don't want to forget that message. Let me check what needs my attention first. This is such valuable English because so much of adult life is made of exactly these thoughts. And if you can think them naturally in English, you are building the kind of fluency that stays close to real life. Now let's imagine that the day becomes busier. You are no longer in the quiet beginning. Now there are people, messages, tasks, questions, maybe interruptions, maybe plans that shift a little. And this is where your speaking becomes flexible. Someone asks, "Are you free right now?" And you answer, "In a minute. I just need to finish this first." Someone says, "Did you already send that?" And you respond, "Not yet. I'm about to do it now." Someone asks, "What are you doing later?" And you say, "I have a few things to take care of, but after that, I should be free." This is what natural daily speaking sounds like. Not perfect speeches, but quick, clear responses that fit the moment. And the more you practice these exchanges, the more ready your English becomes for real conversation. I also want you to remember that listening is not passive. It is active attention. It is noticing not only the words, but also the speed, the feeling, the energy, and the intention behind the words. If someone says, "It's been a long day," they may be telling you more than a simple fact. They may be tired, discouraged, or just ready for quiet. And when you hear that deeper meaning, your response becomes more natural. You can say, "Yeah, I can hear that." Or, "That sounds exhausting." Or, "I hope you get some rest later." This kind of listening makes your speaking warmer because it teaches you to respond to people, not just to vocabulary. Now let's walk through a full small conversation that sounds like real life. A friend asks, "How's your day going so far?" You answer, "It's going okay. I had a busy morning, but things are a little calmer now." Then they say, "That's good. Did you get much done?" And you respond, "Enough to feel better. Not everything, but the important part is done." Then they ask, "What about the rest of the day?" And you say, "I still have a few things to do, but I'm trying not to put too much pressure on myself." This is exactly the kind of English that helps you sound grounded, natural, and human. It is not too short, not too formal, just balanced. And balance is one of the secrets of daily speaking. As the day continues, you may go out, run errands, visit a store, meet someone briefly, and wait in line, or ask for help. And each one of these moments is another doorway into useful English. "Excuse me, do you know where this is? Can I ask you something quickly? How much is this? Do you take cards? I think I may have gone the wrong way. Sorry, could you repeat that?" These are practical survival phrases. But more than that, they are confidence phrases because they help you stay active in English. They help you participate, ask, clarify, and continue, even when you are unsure. And that is a big part of real fluency, being willing to stay in the interaction instead of stepping out of it. Let's imagine a short real-life scene. You go to a shop to buy something simple, but you cannot find it. So you walk up and ask, "Excuse me, could you tell me where I can find bottled water?" The other person points and says, "It's in the back, near the fridge," and you answer, "Thank you. I appreciate it." That whole exchange may last only a few seconds, but it is real English, functioning English, confident English. And when you repeat simple scenes like that in practice, your mind begins to feel more comfortable using the language in public situations. Then perhaps something small goes wrong, because that is normal too. Maybe you forget something. Maybe the place is closed. Maybe you misread a message. Maybe you thought the meeting time was different. And suddenly you need the English of mistake, adjustment, and calm recovery. "Oh, I got that wrong. Sorry, that was my mistake. I thought it was later. Let me fix that. I should have checked more carefully. It's okay. I can still sort this out." These are wonderful daily life sentences because they teach you something very important. Natural English is not only for smooth moments, it is also for imperfect moments. And being able to stay calm in those moments makes your English feel much more real. Now, let's imagine that later in the day, your energy changes because that happens to everyone. Maybe you started strong and now you feel slower. Or maybe the opposite happened. Maybe the day became easier once you got going. This gives us more flexible speaking. I was tired earlier, but I feel better now. I had a slow start, but I found my rhythm later. I'm running out of energy. I think I need a short break. I'm not fully done yet, but I've made progress. This kind of language is so useful because it lets you talk about change. And daily life is full of change. Change in mood, change in energy, change in plans, change in expectations. The more naturally you can speak about change, the more natural your whole English becomes. And now let's move into a quieter tone. Oh, because eventually most days soften again. You begin to return home or sit down after a long stretch of movement, and now your English becomes a little more reflective. I'm glad to be home. I didn't realize how tired I was until I sat down. I need a little quiet now. I think I've had enough for one day. These are such honest evening lines. And honesty makes the language feel personal. It makes it feel like yours. And that matters. Because when English begins to carry your real feelings, it stops feeling like something borrowed. It starts feeling lived in. Now imagine the evening conversation that so many people have. Someone asks, "How was your day?" And you answer in a calm, natural way. It was a little busier than I expected, but overall it went okay. I had a few things to deal with, and some parts were tiring, but I got through them. Then they say, "That sounds like a lot," and you respond, "Yeah, but I'm glad the hardest part is over." This is real speaking, reflective, balanced, and easy to believe. And that is what makes it powerful, because believable English is memorable English. It feels connected to real life, so your brain holds onto it more easily. I also want you to practice the English of comfort, because daily life is not only stress and movement, it is also quiet, rest, food, relief, and small, beautiful moments. You might say, "This tea tastes really good right now. I needed a moment like this. The house feels peaceful. I'm glad things are quieter now. I don't want to do anything complicated tonight. I just want a simple evening." These are gentle, expressive lines, and they matter because natural fluency is not only about managing problems, it is also about describing peace. And sometimes the calmest English is the most beautiful kind to practice. Let's imagine a soft paragraph for shadowing. I got home, changed into comfortable clothes, and finally sat down. For the first time all day, I felt like I could breathe properly. The room was quiet, the light was soft, and nothing felt urgent anymore. Oh, I made myself something warm to drink and let the day slow down around me. I didn't need anything exciting. I just needed calm. That paragraph is rich with daily life English, and it is also rich with feeling, which makes it perfect for speaking practice. Because when emotion and routine come together, the language becomes easier to remember. Now let's talk about one of the most useful things you can do as a learner. Telling the story of your own day in simple English. Not a dramatic story, just an honest one. This habit is incredibly powerful because it trains listening, memory, speaking flow, and emotional expression at the same time. At the end of the day, you can say something like this. Today started slowly, but once I got going, it became easier to stay focused. I had a few things I needed to finish, and some of them took longer than I expected. There were moments when I felt tired or distracted, but I kept returning to what mattered. Tonight, I'm not trying to judge the day too harshly. I'm just glad I kept going. That kind of paragraph is gold for fluency because it teaches you how to carry one connected thought from beginning to end. Here is another example. And I want you to hear how ordinary and natural it sounds. Today wasn't especially exciting, but it still gave me a lot of useful moments. I answered some messages, took care of a few small tasks, went out for a little while, and had to adjust a few plans along the way. Some things went smoothly, and some didn't, but that's normal. What matters is that I stayed present and kept moving through the day. Now I just want a rest and let tomorrow begin fresh. This is exactly the kind of speaking that helps English feel close to life. Not dramatic, not artificial, just clear, steady, and real. And I want to say something important here. Do not underestimate simple English. Simple English is not weak English. Simple English is strong when it is clear, warm, and natural. If you can say, I'm tired, but I'm okay. I need a little time. I forgot that. Let me check. I'm glad to be home. I think I need rest. You are already using meaningful English. You are already communicating real life. And that matters far more than trying to sound advanced before you feel ready. True confidence grows from sentences you can actually live inside. Sentences that match your day, your energy, and your voice. So whenever you practice, I want you to remember this gentle method. Listen closely. Notice the feeling. Repeat the sentence. Adapt it to your own life. And then use it again when a real moment comes. That is how daily English becomes yours. You hear, it's been a long day. And later you say it yourself. You hear, let me think for a second. And then one day it comes naturally to your mouth. You hear, I'm just about to leave. And later it becomes part of your own real conversation. This is what progress looks like. Not always dramatic, but deeply practical and very real. Let's walk through one final long shadowing paragraph together. One that carries the feeling of a whole ordinary day from beginning to end. I woke up feeling a little slow, but I tried not to rush myself. I started the morning quietly, got ready at my own pace, and reminded myself to focus on one thing at a time. Later, the day became busier, and there were a few moments when I felt distracted or tired, but I kept going. I asked questions when I needed help, and took a breath when I felt overwhelmed, and adjusted my plans when things changed. By the evening, I was ready for peace. I came home, let myself slow down, and thought about the day with a little more kindness. It wasn't a perfect day, but it was real, and I moved through it in English, one simple moment at a time. That is a beautiful paragraph to practice because it contains the whole spirit of daily listening and speaking: honesty, movement, calm, effort, and real life. Now let's imagine one more simple daily conversation, one that sounds very ordinary, but is actually full of useful English. Someone asks you, "How's everything going?" And you answer, "It's going okay. I'm just taking the day one step at a time." Then they say, "That sounds like a good idea." And you respond, "Yeah. I've learned that things feel easier when I don't rush too much." Then they ask, "Are you feeling better than earlier?" And you say, "A little. Yes. I think I just needed some time and a calmer pace." This is such good daily English because it is soft, natural, reflective, and easy to use in real life. And I want to give you one more kind of practice, a beautiful kind of practice. At the end of your day, before sleep, tell yourself a few honest lines in English, not because you are studying, but because you are noticing your life. You can say, "Today felt long, but I made it through. I didn't do everything perfectly, but I kept going. I had moments of stress and moments of peace, and I'm learning from all of it. Tomorrow is another chance, and I can begin again." This kind of self-talk is so powerful because it teaches you to think in English with honesty, not pressure. And when English becomes part of your honest inner voice, your fluency starts growing from a much deeper place. Let's do one last flowing paragraph together. And as you listen, just let the rhythm be calm and natural. Every day gives me new chances to practice English, not in a distant way, but in a real way. I can practice when I wake up, when I make decisions, when I answer questions, when I get tired, when I change my plans, when I talk to someone, and when I sit quietly at the end of the day. I do not need a perfect life to practice real English. I only need attention, patience, and the courage to use simple, honest sentences again and again. Little by little, these sentences become easier, then warmer, then more natural. And one day I realized that English is no longer something outside me. It has started becoming part of my everyday life. So please keep going, gently, consistently, and kindly. Keep listening to natural daily English. Keep noticing the little sentence patterns people really use. Ooh. Keep speaking to yourself in honest, simple lines. Keep answering small questions out loud. Keep describing your day, your mood, your plans, your needs, and your quiet thoughts. Because all of this matters. Every little bit of it. And every time you practice this way, you are building something strong, something calm, and something real. Imagine that you are beginning another regular day. And this time, you decide to stay aware of your English from one small moment to the next. You wake up, notice the room, take a breath, and quietly say, "I'm still a little sleepy, but I think I slept better than yesterday. I don't want to rush this morning. I just want to begin the day in a calm way." Then maybe you stand up, stretch your body, and say, "My legs feel a little heavy, but I know I'll wake up once I start moving. I should open the window for a moment. The air might help me feel more awake." Listen to how these thoughts stay simple, but connected. That is exactly what daily fluency needs. Not performance, but connected everyday thought. Now imagine that you go into the kitchen and start making something small. Maybe you are making tea, maybe coffee, maybe breakfast. And instead of silence, you let English move softly with your actions. "I'm hungry, but I don't want anything too heavy. I think I'll make something quick. I need something simple that will help me feel ready for the day. I also need to drink more water. I didn't drink enough yesterday." This kind of self-talk is so useful because it stays close to your real needs. And when your English stays close to your real needs, it becomes much easier to remember, much easier to repeat, and much easier to use again later. Let's practice a longer daily life paragraph together. And I want you to imagine every part of it as if it belongs to your own routine. I woke up feeling a little more rested than usual, which made the morning feel easier right away. I didn't jump out of bed, but I didn't stay there too long either. I gave myself a quiet minute to wake up properly. And then I got up and started moving slowly. In the kitchen, I made something simple to eat and stood there for a moment while the day began to settle around me. I wasn't trying to think too far ahead. I just wanted a calm start, and that made a difference. This paragraph is rich with useful daily English, and it teaches one important thing very clearly. Natural speaking often comes from noticing ordinary moments carefully. Now let's move into the middle of a day when your attention has to go in many directions, because this is where many learners lose confidence. Not because their English disappears, but because life becomes busy. And when life becomes busy, language needs to stay simple and useful. Maybe you are answering messages, dealing with tasks, or trying to remember what comes next. This is where you can use clear everyday lines like, "I need to focus on one thing at a time. I'm getting a little distracted. Let me finish this first, and then I'll deal with the rest. I don't want to make everything feel urgent. I just need to keep moving." These are excellent daily lines because they help you manage both language and emotion at the same time. And that is a very real part of communication. Imagine a practical afternoon paragraph. The day started to get busier around noon, and for a while I felt like too many things were asking for my attention at once. A message came in. Then another task appeared, and suddenly I felt pulled in different directions. At first, I could feel myself getting tense, but then I stopped, took a breath, and reminded myself that I didn't need to do everything at once. I just needed to choose one thing, finish it, and then move to the next. Once I did that I didn't need to do everything at once. I just needed to choose one thing, finish it, and then move to the next. Once I did that, the day felt more manageable again. This is such useful English because it sounds exactly like real life. And real life English is the strongest kind of English to practice. Now let's bring in some guided speaking practice with real daily questions and natural answers. Imagine someone asks you, "What's been the hardest part of your day so far?" You could answer, "Honestly, just trying to stay focused. I've had a lot in my mind today." Or you could say, "The hardest part was getting started, but once I did, things became easier." If someone asks, "What's helped you today?" you might answer, "Taking things slowly and not putting too much pressure on myself." If someone asks, "Are you feeling okay now?" you could say, "Yeah, a little better. I think I just needed a calmer pace." These answers sound natural because they are rooted in ordinary human experience, and that is what makes them strong. Let's imagine a small conversation and let it unfold naturally. Someone says, "You seem quieter than usual today." And you answer, "Yeah, I've just had a lot on my mind. I'm okay. I just need a little space to think." Then they say, "That makes sense. I hope the day gets easier for you." And you respond, "Thanks. I think it will. I just need to take it one step at a time." That exchange is not complicated, but it is full of useful language. Noticing mood, responding honestly, receiving kindness, and continuing calmly. This is real conversation, and it deserves just as much practice as any formal lesson. Now I want you to practice something else that matters a lot. Talking through small decisions in English, because a large part of daily life is decision after decision after decision. Not huge ones all the time, but small ones. And those small ones are perfect for speaking practice. You may say, "Should I do this now or later? Do I have enough energy for that today? Is this really necessary, or can it wait? I think I'd rather do the important part first and leave the smaller tasks for later. Maybe I should take a short break before I continue." These are wonderfully useful speaking lines because decisions are everywhere. And when you can talk through them naturally, your English becomes much more active and personal. Imagine this short decision-making paragraph. I knew I still had a few things left to do, but I could feel my energy dropping. So I stopped for a moment and asked myself what really mattered most. And I didn't want to spend another hour doing low-priority tasks just to feel busy. I wanted to use my energy well, so I chose one important thing and finished that first. After that, I let the rest wait, and I felt much better about the day. This kind of paragraph is excellent for fluency because it teaches clear thought, realistic emotion, and everyday judgment all in one simple flow. Now let's move into a softer evening again, because the end of a day gives you one of the best chances to speak in full natural paragraphs. Not because you need to perform, but because by evening you have something real to say. You can reflect on what happened, how you felt, what changed, and what you learned. This kind of English is calm, personal, and powerful. You might say, "Today felt heavier than I expected, but I still made it through. I didn't do everything perfectly, but I stayed with what mattered. I had moments when I felt frustrated, and moments when I felt calm again. By the end of the day, I understood myself a little better." These are strong lines, not because they are advanced, but because they are honest and connected. Let's practice a longer reflection paragraph together and let it sound as natural as possible. Today moved in different directions, and I had to adjust more than once. Some things went well right away, and some things took more time and patience than I expected. There were moments when I felt focused, and other moments when I felt scattered, but I kept returning to the day and doing what I could. I'm not trying to tell myself it was a perfect day. It wasn't, but it was real, and I stayed present inside it. That matters to me. This is exactly the kind of English that makes your speaking sound grounded, because it accepts life as it is, instead of trying to make everything sound polished or dramatic. Now I want to give you a guided shadowing flow that you can imagine Julia saying slowly, clearly, and warmly. And you can repeat it sentence by sentence, or paragraph by paragraph, depending on what feels right for you. Listen first, and then speak it back in your own voice. Today, I practiced staying close to real English. I didn't try to force perfect sentences. I just tried to notice my real life and describe it honestly. I spoke about my morning, my energy, my tasks, my mood, and my need for calm. I listened carefully to the feeling inside simple daily phrases, and I let those phrases become part of my own voice. This kind of practice may look simple, but it is building something strong inside me. That is a beautiful shadowing paragraph because it not only teaches language, it teaches mindset too. Let's do another guided speaking exercise. This time as if you are talking to a friend at the end of a normal day. If they ask, "So, how did your day go?" You could answer like this: "It was a normal day in some ways, but it still taught me a lot. I had a few things to handle, and some moments felt easier than others. I had to slow myself down more than once, but I'm glad I did. By the evening, I was tired, but I also felt proud that I stayed with the day instead of fighting it. That is natural, expressive, and deeply useful because it teaches you how to speak about ordinary life with a little more depth. I also want you to remember that your listening will keep getting better when you stop listening only for perfect understanding and start listening for familiar meaning. Maybe you hear a sentence quickly, but you catch the feeling, the topic, and the direction, and that is already progress. If someone says, "I'm just trying to get through the day," maybe you do not catch every tiny sound, but you hear the meaning. Effort, tiredness, persistence, and slowly, with repetition, your ear becomes stronger. This is why daily listening matters so much, because real life gives you repeated emotional patterns, and repeated patterns become familiar. Now, let's bring everything into one final integrated practice paragraph. One that feels like a real person moving naturally through a real day. I woke up slowly, but I didn't let that discourage me. I started where I was, took care of the small things in front of me, and moved through the day one step at a time. There were moments when I felt clear, moments when I felt distracted, and moments when I needed to pause and reset. I spoke to myself more kindly than usual, and I tried to use simple English that matched what I was actually living. By the end of the day, I realized that this is what real practice looks like. Not a perfect performance, but honest attention, repeated calmly, inside ordinary life. That paragraph carries the full spirit of this lesson, and it is a strong place for your own speaking to grow from. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. It truly means a lot that you stayed here, listened carefully, practiced gently, and gave yourself this quiet space to grow. I'm really proud of you for showing up for your English in such a calm and steady way. Whether today's lesson felt easy, challenging, or somewhere in between, please remember that every little moment of practice matters. Every sentence you listened to, every phrase you repeated, and every thought you tried to express in English is helping you move forward, little by little, day by day. So please keep going with kindness. Keep trusting the power of simple daily practice. And keep believing that your English can grow through real life, one honest moment at a time. If you enjoyed learning with me today, please subscribe and press the bell icon too, so you won't miss our next daily lesson. Take good care of yourself. Keep practicing with a calm heart. And I'll be here with you again very soon.